While your day is winding down, they're just getting started. This is South Coast Tonight with Chris McCarthy and Marcus Farrow. They've got you covered on all the news of the day, from local issues to politics on both sides of the aisle. This is the place where the movers and shakers come to be heard, to listen, and where they're held accountable. This is South Coast Tonight on WBSM.
Welcome back.
Hey, Marcus.
So, Max from New Bedford asked me if there is because he asked me last night if there's a Republican in Congress that I respect. No, there's not. But he asked me, but to be fair, there's very few Democrats, honestly, in Congress. Right. Congress isn't a functioning body. So, but he asked me, name one ideal value or policy that is traditionally considered conservative that you find to be honorable or reasonable. Please don't brush off for credibility's sake. So, is there a policy that is traditionally considered to be conservative that I like?
National defense.
Do I like national defense?
I'm not saying what the issue's used for, but I would say that generally speaking, you appreciate the armed forces of America.
Oh, sure. I don't consider. Is that a conservative issue?
It shouldn't be, but
yeah. Let's go with that.
See, that was easy.
Let's go with national defense. I have a lot of friends that are veterans. I appreciate them and the sacrifices they've made for this country. And actually, they're all Republicans too. So, let's say that. Let's say national defense, and that's it.
See, Marcus, I would think that you would like, on principle alone, maybe some guys you've never heard of by name, so that's why you can't name them. There are probably some guys who are on the libertarian side. You don't agree with them, but you respect them for being consistent, which is something, for instance, I respect lefties who are always consistent.
What I will say is I would say, like, I'll take any, like, jug-hooting Southern conservative senator over a guy like Ben Sass, who is an absolute formless, wishy-washy, he's just
defense. He's from Nebraska.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying is that I'll take the ideology. I think they're both equally awful, but I'll take a guy that's at least ideologically consistent.
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul, I actually don't really care for. I think he's a spoiled brat. He's a baby, I think he's an idiot.
His father was the man.
His father's, I think, brings up some interesting points, and I think Rand Paul actually has brought up some really good points. Like, in fact, he talked a lot about during the
watch what I did
during the 2016 election. He talked a lot about how we're spending too much on the military, and of course, every guy up there is like, no, we've got to turn Iran into glass. We need all the nukes in the world and all this other stuff. And he's like, how can you guys all say that you're conservative when when you're spending all this money, that really, like, I think everybody agrees is more or less like a jobs program in a giveaway to defense contractors. And I thought that was a good point. Overall, he also said that single-payer health care is slavery, and then went to go get surgery in Canada after he got beaten up by his neighbor from New Bedford. Yep. From New Bedford. So, I don't particularly. He's also kind of a baby. He got caught plagiarizing a speech and then threw a tantrum and said, I don't even have to serve in the Senate anymore. I can go back to being a doctor or whatever. So I don't really particularly care for him, but he does bring up decent points once in a while.
So, to your point about the national defense being a jobs program, as an example, Raytheon, which is a big Massachusetts company, they have no plans to stop shipping weapons to the Ukraine.
Yeah.
The amount of money, and by the way, I think we have to defeat Russia, and I think it's beautiful of the Ukrainians. They're doing the fighting, and we're doing the supplying. Not to say that I don't think there's probably some money disappearing. We call it leakage, but It's probably a lot of leakage.
Yeah.
But they are building missiles that we just are blowing off.
Leakage is such a good euphemism for embezzlement. And, because in fact, all the money that we gave to Afghanistan to basically give to these sort of like feudal lords was,
right.
I would say, not a leakage, but a deluge.
So, Marcus, it's called ghost soldiers.
Okay.
So a ghost soldier is this. When you go to these third world countries, and they had them in Vietnam, that's the first place I ever learned of this term was not that I was in Vietnam, but in a book about Vietnam. So the South Vietnamese generals would say, we've got 4 brigades, or brigades 5,000 guys. We've got 4 brigades in the highlands over here, right? Really, they had 1 brigade, but we got to pay them. America. Right. So the salary is, let's say, $100 a month, right? So I need $100 a month per guy for my 3 brigades.
Okay.
But they're ghosts. They don't really exist.
Yeah, right.
So but I need gold to pay them, right? Because they don't accept U.S. currency. They accept gold, right?
Yeah, of course.
Same thing in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
They go, Afghanistan, the various groups over there say, well, until now, it's gotten a little better. We use biometrics now a little bit so we can tell that guy is not really 3 different people, right? Because he just keeps showing up in a different uniform.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we use biometrics, but are we really caring? Are we really looking?
No.
We understand that we're claiming we're going to pay the salaries for 3 brigades, and we know there's only 1 brigade in the hills, right? Because the warlord's going to take the money.
Yeah.
Right? And then warlord might even kick some of the money back to us. Right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, but ghost armies. When I first heard about ghost soldiers, reading about Vietnam, and I thought, that's ingenious.
Yeah.
Right? So when I've seen that show up everywhere afterwards, right? By the way, don't be fooled that there aren't American political campaigns that are hiring ghost soldiers to walk in neighborhoods.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We got to pay all these guys. It's $10 an hour.
Yes, yeah. You look at an org chart and, you look at the org chart and you say, oh, yeah, such and such and such and such are working really hard canvassing over here.
Right, right.
Those people don't exist. Yeah.
Right,
I mean, that's the political consultants. It's political consulting. There are some good consultants that I know really well, but political consulting, by and large, especially on the national level, is sort of a legalized money laundering operation. So 508-996-0500. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, my
doing?
friend. How are you?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there.
Cool.
Can I change the subject a bit?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
try to pick your brains and ask you both what in the future is going to happen with our Governor Charlie Baker? Where is he going?
Well, he's going to be a lot wealthier than any of us.
Oh,
Yeah. Right.
I mean, politically.
So he's got 2 options. He can go to the private sector, or he can run for Senate. Right?
Yes. Who's up next, Marky?
Warren.
Warren's up next?
Warren's the more vulnerable one.
Yes.
Well, they asked him on OTR, which I know your news people are referring to, which I'm happy that they're watching that because
That's a good show.
Got a lot of good information about Massachusetts. A couple of weeks ago when he was on, they asked him about running for president. Do you think that's a possibility?
No.
Well, what if he jumped parties and ran as a Democrat?
No.
Okay, tell me why.
Well, the Democrats aren't going to cede to a Republican, and the Republicans aren't going to cede to a Democrat.
Yeah, I don't. So the thing, he won't.
His abortion alone, not to mention the transgender stuff, there's a lot of things in there that we don't really mind, or a lot of people don't really focus on with Charlie Baker because they like the other stuff he's done as a Republican in Massachusetts. But the rest of the country, the Republican Party does not enjoy it.
The thing is, for the Republicans,
But he's the most
absolutely
popular
out.
governor in the country.
But
That's only because he's not running against anybody.
in Massachusetts, right? So here's the thing: what plays in Massachusetts doesn't play nationally. I think DeSantis is going to run into the same problem too.
Everyone's popular
Marcus,
until they have a competition.
He's tall, Marcus. That's
True.
Well, here's the thing. He looks like a president. But here's the thing with Baker. I will say, if I could entertain the idea of Charlie Baker running for president, he would have to run in the Democratic Party. He would have to change his party affiliation to do that. I don't think he will do that. I think he believes in a certain type of, let's say, Rockefeller Republicanism that he's going to try until, he's going to try and fail at making a national, bringing to national prominence again. But I will say the Democrats, a lot of Democrats, much to my annoyance, are dying for a Republican that they agree with. John Kasich,
right?
John Kasich, who honestly, John Kasich sucks, but he does. He sucks. John Kasich sucks, but he's
not
like
the way to bring a party together.
But he's less. But John Kasich isn't like Ted Cruz, so people think he's moderate. John Kasich is not a moderate guy. Mm-hmm. That one of those gay marriage cases, which was I think Obergefell v. Hodges, was actually Obergefell v. Kasich, but he got his name taken off that case. He's a very conservative. He's a very conservative guy, and now people are starting to like George Bush more. Democrats in general, a lot of liberals are dying to have a Republican that they actually agree with and say, well, he's a Republican, but I like him.
Look at Liz Cheney.
Yeah. Liz Cheney is the perfect example of that. But at the end of the day, I think by and large, I think most Democrats won't vote for a Republican.
Won't vote for a Republican. Put it that way.
What?
Well,
AOC won't.
You've still got the primaries and the caucuses, and Charlie Baker would get his head handed to him in the Republican or the Democrat.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
I think so. I don't think it works.
Bill Weld has been a national embarrassment of himself, and he was a good governor.
Well,
trying to run.
And not only that,
Bill, I think, kind of has other interests.
Not only that.
John Barleycorn.
Okay, you said it. I didn't.
Not only that, Charlie Baker does have, I think, some more problematic stances in a national Democrat primary. His position, for example, on the driver's license bill, I think would come up against him. Mm-hmm. He's taken positions on stuff that would probably be a disqualifier in a Democrat primary. Like, is he to the left of like the entire Republican Party nationally and even most of the Republican Party in the state now? Yeah, but that still doesn't mean he's left enough for the Democratic Party.
Right.
Well, again, I think we're losing he was very courteous to Maura Healey when he congratulated her on her win.
Oh, I was just telling Marcus we have the television on here in the background of the Celtics game, and you could see that Governor Baker gave up his seat so that Governor Healey can sit with the King of England, or the Prince of England, whatever it is.
Well, there you go. There you go right there. To me, he's being awfully courteous, and as long as Trump's around, I don't see him being a Republican Party candidate. And he is a Democrat. He is from a Democratic state, which would make him, a rhino. I understand that. I just think that in the next 2 years, things could change, and I don't know. I think you could see a reemergence of Charlie Baker. I'm not saying I'm happy with everything he represented, but he's a civil politician.
There would be a serious whiplash. I can't see it.
When Biden ran for the presidency, I thought we were going to get a much more moderate guy. And he's leaned so far to the left.
Has he? What positions has he taken that have been super left?
Well, again, it's this thing on the climate. He turned the oil companies against us, so you're paying high gas. Do you like the gas you're paying?
Yeah, I don't know.
To me, you got to have your left hand not knowing what your right hand's doing.
I don't think that's. I don't think you can blame gas prices on the president.
What's that?
I don't think you can blame gas prices on the president. I think it's a cop out to blame gas prices on the president, especially with everything that's going on globally.
So just to focus back on Baker for a second,
the gas companies. Let's face it. So that's what you're going to do, and if you're going to make it so we're going to go all electric soon, well, hey, we're going to go after you too, and we're going to go up on those gas prices. So
just to get back to Baker for a second, I like the question. The reality of it is that if Baker runs for U.S. Senate, it will quickly become what we saw in the New Hampshire races, which will be he's running to elect a Republican judges. He's running to elect
Mitch
McConnell as majority leader.
That's the problem.
It won't be that he's running as Charlie Baker to be the Charlie Baker head of the Senate.
The perfect example of why that probably wouldn't work would be Alan Fung. Alan Fung is a very well-liked guy, a very popular guy, but he has he has found his absolute ceiling in terms of electoral politics beyond Cranston mayor, because it is, I think, Magaziner, who I don't think was a great candidate, honestly, not the most personable guy, and I think very rightfully painted as sort of, like a guy who, is just like finding an opportunity with an office and is, grown up as a person of privilege.
Well,
but hold on, okay. But Alan Fung is a vote for Kevin McCarthy. That was the whole thing. Alan Fung is a vote for Kevin McCarthy. He's a vote against abortion. He's a vote against gun control.
Of Donald Trump around his neck, as they did with Sheriff Tom. But take a picture with him, and that's all you have to do when you got a problem.
Yeah, the sheriff did more than take a picture with Trump.
Well, I'm trying to go easy here, but Alan Fung too supposedly is they.
He had a Trump hat at the inauguration.
And also, you don't get a chance to decide what your opponent's going to say about you.
I understand, but you've got to be careful in how you relate to Donald Trump.
No, I agree with that. What I'm saying is that no matter what your position is, no matter how nuanced it is, your opponent's going to link you to him anyway.
The one way I could see a path for Charlie Baker to win a Senate race against someone like Warren or Markey is if he ran as an independent and if people bought into that. Mm-hmm. That's the only way I could see it. And if he said he was going to caucus, and I think he'd have to say he's going to caucus with the Democrats.
I agree with you. An Angus King type situation.
Does that cause problems in Massachusetts getting on the ballot, though? When you
he could do it.
No, he could do it.
Because he's got an independent political operation outside of the Republican Party.
Yeah, he could do it.
So he could do it.
Some mechanisms in the procedure.
He'd probably have to do it because it's the only way he get the Republican nomination.
Right,
he'll probably nominate Deal again.
Because he couldn't even get the line.
Well, it's sad, I think, because I don't agree with the guy on everything, but he seemed to be a civil politician, and that's what we need now in the future going on. We need politicians that are somewhat civil to one another. They can disagree, they can argue, but I think the election showed that too. People are tired of the two ends fighting against one another and getting little or nothing done.
I also don't think the man wants to go down and be a senator.
Yeah, I don't think he's like 67. He's got to go to Washington and be there all the time.
I guess
argue with Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz. I don't think that's what he wants to do with the rest of his life.
Again, I don't know. You've got what's his name, Markey, who's been there now for 50 years. When he was on this Sunday,
but he had nowhere else to go.
Well, she's retiring. Janet Wu.
Yeah, I heard him. He said it's not your age; it's the age of your ideas.
So again, putting the age against Charlie Baker, I don't know if that's necessarily a factor. If you get a guy at 80 who's going to run again for another 6 years, he'll be 86 when he gets out of there, I guess, So, well, one other thing I want to talk to you guys too, because I heard this about the down in Providence. I guess the governor is going to try to put aside an armory in Cranston, I think, or something like that, as a place for people who are indigent in the cold weather. You think we could do the same thing with our armory, or is it too in disrepair?
I don't think the mayor would want to do that. But that's kind of what Bob Cabral was talking about.
Yeah.
The candidate for Ward 3, a wraparound shelter with 24-hour service.
Yeah, well, the mayor tried to put that down on Division Street there in the Sister Rose house, but the people don't want to leave downtown. So what the mayor wants and what the people want to do are two different things sometimes. And, of course, I don't like the mayor.
I know you don't.
We know you don't. Thanks for the call. We appreciate
it. Guys, take care.
Thank you. 508-996-0500 is how you can get on. Do you want to take a break? Or?
Yeah, take a break.
All right, let's take a break. If you're on the line, stay on the line. We will be right back.
Anywhere.
996-0500. Good evening.
Hi. I was wondering if either of you have any background information on this Katherine Clark, who was chosen to be the whip for the Democratic Congress starting in January. She's from Massachusetts.
Yeah, she's from
Massachusetts.
On the air.
So she's from Massachusetts. She is represents some of the Boston suburbs that are west of the city. Yeah, I think she lives in Malden herself. She actually. She's come up from the lowest level of politics. She was a school committee member. She ran for state rep, then state senate, and then for Congress, and has worked her way up all the way to the leadership. She was the assistant speaker of the House prior to with Nancy Pelosi, and then when Nancy Pelosi stepped down, she took the opportunity to campaign for whip. So when presumably if the Democrats take the majority in the House, let's say next term, she will either be the speaker or be the majority leader in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, it looks to me like she's very close to this Hakeem Jeffries, who is odds-on favorite to be the speaker if the Democrats take. Marcus doesn't like him, but
sucks.
But I would say she's on the moderate to liberal side of the agenda. Probably, if you're a Republican, she's a real liberal. But if you're Marcus, she's a moderate.
She's probably around. Hakeem Jeffries is pretty dead center.
I would agree,
and I think actually hates. Hakeem Jeffries has like a visceral hatred for progressives, and so I think anybody that's close to him is probably less progressive than like, let's say, the AOCs or Rashida Tlaibs of the world.
I think she's good. Although I'm a Republican, I think she's good for Massachusetts because proximity to power is power,
I think
and it's good to have her there.
I think she's a pretty standard. She's a pretty standard in terms of ideology. She's a pretty standard Massachusetts Democrat. I don't think there's anything particularly that stands out in terms of her ideology that people would say, "Oh, wow, that's interesting." I think she's got this pretty similar opinions as most of the party.
So I would say that the industries that are important to us here in Massachusetts, which is finance. Which is defense. She'll be right there with finance and with defense. Traditional. The one thing about her is that's important is, and Bill Keating has explained this to the audience before, is the Massachusetts model, which is that when the Democrats come into power, and in the years past when they had Republicans, they did it with Republicans too. When they get into Congress, they immediately begin tracking their seats because it's about longevity. So they get them onto committees. Even if you're a Republican, they get you onto committees so that you'll benefit the state of Massachusetts over the length of your career, assuming most Massachusetts congressmen stay a very long time. So Katherine Clark, to be able to get this high up in leadership this early in her career is pretty remarkable, really.
Yeah, it is, because she's only been around since like 2013 to 2015.
And you're going to have to replace people like your Rules Committee chairman in a few, McGovern. You're going to lose the Ways and Means chairman, who's
Richie Neal. He's
right.
still the ranking member now.
Yeah.
So did we answer your question? Do you have any more questions?
Yes, but just one general question: are these whips generally low profile, or can we expect to see her making any news in the future?
No, I mean, she's one of the leaders. She's the second ranking member of the Democratic Party now. And the whip, so what a whip is basically someone who whips the votes, basically just tries to get, corral the members of the caucus to vote on a particular bill. So
and
she's
that kind of secret. I mean, they make deals behind the scenes.
Well, she makes deals, yes.
You got to make deals. I don't know. I can't speak to the
when you say
secrecy of
making
it.
News, depending on what news source you go to. I mean, if you read the deep political stuff, you'll find a lot about her there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I've heard much about whips, all through my lifetime. They
They've been
seem
there
to
forever.
be working behind the scenes and low profile. But was there ever a whip that was high profile in the news?
Yeah, Tom DeLay.
Tell us about him.
Tom DeLay was a Republican from Texas.
Yeah.
He was, they called him the Hammer.
Yeah.
Because he kept guys in line. He knew what your projects were, what you wanted to get done for your district, and they were going to hold it up unless you did what they wanted.
Newt Gingrich is also minority whip before he became speaker.
And this Tom DeLay, about what year was he around?
The 90s.
90s, yeah. All right, I think it's very interesting what goes on behind the scenes.
I do, too.
Yeah, me too.
All right, thanks for answering my question.
Thank you, my friend.
No problem. Newt Gingrich was the minority whip before he wasn't the minority leader. He was the minority whip in that 94 contract with America and all of that before he became speaker. So he's another notable party whip. And Nancy Pelosi was also the whip at one point.
Locally, in the early 90s, you had Peter Blute was one of the whips. He wasn't the whip. He was one of the whips, division whips. Peter Blute had been the congressman from Fall River and Dartmouth on the Republican side for a number of years.
Kevin McCarthy was a whip.
Yes.
And actually he became majority leader because Eric Cantor, who was the majority leader at the time, got primaried by David Bratt, who ended up losing to Abigail Spanberger, who lost as well. But Eric Cantor was the majority leader, and he got primaried out, so that made Kevin McCarthy majority leader. When then John Boehner retired, they put in Paul Ryan because no one liked Kevin McCarthy. So Kevin McCarthy was actually a pretty high-profile whip, too. And actually, in the show House of Cards with Kevin Spacey, I know, you know, Kevin Spacey and all that, but he had a famous line. It was, you vote your district, you vote your you vote your conscience, and you don't surprise me, right? He said those three things in the line, and that was a line he actually got from Kevin McCarthy as a whip. So the thing that the whip does, it sounds like a very aggressive term, but the thing that the whip does is that he knows what you need and what you can't do. Yeah. Okay? So, for instance, Bill Keating could never vote against fishing, as an example. Yes. Right? Not that he would, but as an example. Yeah. Most, say, for instance, your Florida Democrats, because it's a big defense industry down in Florida, could never vote against a defense authorization bill. Right. Because, you know, regardless of the party. So they know not only what they want you to do, but what you can do. Yeah. Right? When they put a bill on the floor, they know the vote count. They always know the vote count. And so, like you said, they'll look at all the votes and they'll say, well, you know, listen, Congressman Keating can't vote against fishing. Congressman Auchincloss can't vote against clean energy, right? You know, so we're going to put them over here, right? And so that's how they know exactly who's going to vote and how many votes. You know, there are some surprises, like the famous John McCain putting his thumbs down for the Obamacare repeal, but that's very rare. If it goes to the floor, they know what's going to happen. Oftentimes, and it's because of the work of the whip, like Katherine Clark. Yes, you'll see here in our own legislature in Massachusetts, occasionally. You'll get, like, for instance, I applauded representative from Westport who just got reelected, Paul Schmidt. Thank you, because he took some votes that I know leadership didn't like, and he said he got dogged for it. He said he didn't get the committee appointments that he probably wanted for it. Right. Yeah. So there are times when you either go along or they get you going along, right? Yeah, exactly. Now, he got reelected, but he didn't get primaried. I don't think that he's not at that situation. But sometimes being independent, particularly in a legislature, you know, you like we're talking about Charlie Baker. Charlie Baker could say and do whatever he wants because he's an army of one. Yeah, right. But when you have to get to a majority, you have to go along with your team. Right. I mean, you can't just, think about it this way. Tom Brady's a hell of a football player, but he needed the receivers. Yes. Right. You needed the linemen. You needed the whole team to be working together. And right. And that's again another reason why, you know, when you have Republicans running in New England, it's pretty easy to say, like, the perfect example, I think, is Scott Brown. Scott Brown won that race. I mean, it was kind of a perfect storm for him to win that race, but he won that race. He was still up in the polls with Elizabeth Warren in 2012. But where Warren won that race really was he is a vote for Mitch McConnell. Right. He is a vote for Mitch McConnell, and they kept saying it over and over again. And at the time, Mitt Romney was the presidential nominee, so they tied him to Mitch McConnell and Mitt Romney, and that's always effective because they know you can say I'm an independent voice and be the most independent voter or whatever, but they know there's party discipline, and the party discipline comes from the leaders like Katherine Clark, right, in the House Minority Whip. So the reality of it is that you have to build consensus, and you can't be, you know, the John McCain with the "I'm a maverick." That's cute and everything. That's a good tagline, but the reality of it is that show me a reformer, I'll show you somebody who won't be here next year, as Billy Bulger once said. Well, John McCain also wasn't really all that much of a maverick. You know, I can't think of many times where he really, other than the Obamacare vote, where he bucked the, and I think that was just an FU to Trump, where he bucked the. He did whatever the New York Times told him to do. Yeah. And, you know, he's one of those guys too. He's like a Kasich. Everybody's like, oh my God, he was a Republican, but I respect him so much. Without no disrespect to his military career. No. And the things he did. No, everything he did after was awful. But he was a media creation. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Outside of what happened, and there's no small feat he was involved in Vietnam.
Yeah.
But after
he was tortured for 5 years. Yeah, he was tortured for 5 years. Yeah.
After that, it was a media creation.
Yeah, and you know, he did a lot of awful stuff like the Keating Five, right? He was one of the Keating Five, and
they were just taking bribes, I think, right?
Well, yeah, they were taking bribes, and they were basically taking bribes. It was the early 90s.
Because I really don't know much about that. The one thing I know about it is that people always said John McCain was always for that campaign finance foolishness because he got burned in the Keating Five thing. Nothing to do with our own Congressman Keating.
That's probably true. I think he didn't, you know.
Because I never liked his arguments of campaign finance. It's stupid.
I remember one of his like shining moments in the 2008 presidential campaign was when he said someone said to him in a town hall meeting, Obama's an Arab, and he goes, no, he's not an Arab, he's a decent guy. Like, wait, what? wait, what? You know, but everybody's like, oh my God, what a grand gesture of civility to say that Arabs and decent guys are polar opposites. All right, hey, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
1420 WBSM is now also on 99.5 FM. If you own a... Get breaking news alerts, stream audio, send us text messages, and get live traffic and weather updates all on the WBSM app. Download it now from your app store or at WBSM.com.
Hey, welcome back. So just another reminder, and we'll remind people before we sign off, is that Chris and I won't be here tomorrow because the Pats game will be on, and you can listen to the Pats game here if you're in the car, or you can watch it. Friday, Jack Spillane, Chris and I are going to a social engagement. Jack Spillane will be in. He'll be filling in. I know he's got some great guests lined up. He's going to have a lot of fun, so you should tune in. You should call in and have a chat with Jack Spillane.
508-996-0500.
Yeah, if you want to talk to us now, we're chilling. Or
if you want to write the number down for Friday.
Write it, yeah. 508-996-0500 is how you can get on. And, yeah, if you want to write it down for Friday and just so you have it. And, yeah, I think that'll be fun. I mean, I really enjoy the Friday night shows.
Yes.
They're a lot of fun. I always say that I do all the 4 nights a week for the Friday night show. I asked for just the Friday night show. They said, no,
sorry. No, you can't have that.
No, you need to have all 4. Before then. So, but we've got a lot of stuff coming up next week too. You know, we've still got candidates that'll probably declare soon in the Ward 3 City Council race. We've got, the septic issue in Dartmouth we're going to be talking about.
So I think everyone in our listening audience should understand that it's not just a Dartmouth issue.
No, it's not just the Dartmouth issue.
This is very much alive and well throughout all of Massachusetts, this entire listening audience.
Yes. Yeah, there'll be public hearings. I think there's one in Lakeville tonight, and there's one in Barnstable on Monday. But when I talked to somebody, a Board of Health director locally, and they said, and they're planning on coming on, they said, you know, we're really is what will be probably as constructive, if not more constructive, is the public comments period where you can submit your own public comments to the state. So
it is going to be a problem if everyone's out there trying to get the same contractors to do the same work at the same time.
Yes.
There's just not enough of them.
Yes.
To do it. It is a big job. It's an expensive job, and there's no one size fits all. Because it depends on the topography of your land, depends on the soil conditions. All that stuff is very crucial, and you may not even have the opportunity to tie into a sewer line.
Right.
If you don't have that option, then it's going to cost you probably $50,000.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and I know that those tie-ins become an issue too. We've had that over in West Island and all of that. Impact fees are pretty steep. So,
yes.
If you don't have the opportunity to tie in, it's going to cost you a lot of money if you're going to overhaul your septic and all that. And there's probably going to be, I think, if this is going to go forward the way they want it to go forward, a significant amount of help is needed from the state.
And you as a property owner are going to have to think very seriously about what you're going to do here. Tying in and I'm not giving out financial advice by any means, because everyone's situation is very different. But tying in is probably the best bet to putting in a new septic system. And the reason I say that is, Marcus, if you remember back to the smoking regulations, there was a time when you could put in all kinds of exhaust fans, things like that, right? You could spend all kinds of money,
and they just
banned it anyway,
They just ended up banning it anyway.
So it very well may be that, you can put in a new septic, do this, that, and the other thing. But no, you got to tie in anyway.
I grew up at just the end of the smoking, non-smoking era, actually. And I remember one time they said, like, this was a thing, and I didn't even know. One time I went to a restaurant with my dad. We were up in New Hampshire. They said, do you want smoking or non-smoking? When they still asked that question. I said, non-smoking, because why would I want smoking? He goes, Marcus, you got all mad. He's like, just say it doesn't matter. I'm like, why? He goes, because then you got to wait. Right. If you say it doesn't matter, you take. I was like, there's a whole etiquette behind it that I didn't even that I didn't even understand.
The smoke doesn't know to stay in its section. No matter where you are, the smoke is going to drift over. Right.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. I'm in non-smoking?
Yeah.
Why is that cigar smoke coming over here?
Hey, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. Hey. So it's Friday for us, but not for you. We'll be off tomorrow because the Pats game's playing. You can listen to the Pats game here Friday night. Jack Spillane is on. You should tune in. You should call in. You should talk to Jack. He's going to have a great show planned for you guys. Jack's got a ton of institutional knowledge. It'll be great to talk to him.
I like that.
Yeah, that's it.
The institutional knowledge. I like that.
He does. I mean, there's
he's been around a long time.
Been around a long time. Yeah. So tune in, and I think he's got something planned with people from the Light and all of that. So if you guys call in, talk to him about local issues, he'll be happy to talk to you.
He'll show you the light.
He will show you the light. Right. So I think a great addition to our fill-in roster, our on-air roster, is Jack Spillane, and so and he's filling in a couple other times.
So treat him as a guest of ours, please.
Yes, treat him as a guest of ours.
Yes,
but not the sheriff guests. Don't treat him as one of those.
Right. Treat him like a nice guy who's a guest.
Don't treat him like the sheriff guests we had on.
Right.
Like you treated them. But treat them like a nice.
You got that out of your system, folks. You can do better.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think they did, because when I had Haru on, I was all questioned. Like, none of them were like, how. I was expecting something like, how dare you?
Well, they're show shocked.
Yeah, right. That too. That too. And me included. He actually asked me, he's like, you surprised I won? I said, yes. It was like, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
I mean, I did.
Yes, I am. But people were just mostly asking, like, hey, what are you going to do? People want to know, like, how are you going to do the job now? So, they're
deciding whether it's worth to go get arrested or not. Hey, you really bringing the weights back?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I heard you're serving better chow over there now.
Yeah, right. Maybe.
Right. Some people go to winter in Florida. Some people now go to winter in the House of Corrections.
Some people still do that.
I know.
It's pretty sad. Well, see you later. No, so tune in Friday. Jack Spillane will be in, and he's give him a call, talk to him. It'll be great. So we'll see you then. I'll see you Monday.